Isn't it about time for somebody's favorite radio program?
This is America's Outdoor Talk program.
Are you ready to get rowdy?
Outdoors This Week with your host, Alex Langer. Alex Langer. We've got fishing.
Believe me, folks, I have been there, and the fishing has been tremendous.
Hiking.
Adios. Have a nice trip.
Camping.
This is a real adventure.
How do you know?
When you're an experienced woodsman like me, you get a feel for these things.
Oh, really?
Heck, we've even got kayaking.
I'm going to show you kids the time of your life.
We've got all the info you need for a safe and fun day in the sun.
It's a darn good thing we found you when we did. There's something horrible roaming these woods.
And you've got Outdoors This Week. Outdoors This Week. And now, here's your host, Alex Langer.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are you this morning? We usually conduct this program on a light note, but not today, because a tragedy has hit close to home, and Lynn's husband Sam passed away a few days ago. And Lynn, I give you kudos for coming in and being a trooper, and I would just like to acknowledge that you lost Sam, and that you're still here.
Thank you, Alex. I'm glad that I am still here, and I'm so appreciative of you and everyone that's been so kind and supportive.
Well, Lynn, not a problem. And today we have Tread Barta, who has been one of our regulars on this show, and Tread is no stranger to his own problems, and he has ended up in a wheelchair with cancer, but he still has kept his spirit. He's got a spirit that is absolutely indomitable. And you may know Tread from his very, very popular show on the Versus Network. It was called The Best and the Worst of Tread Barta, where, Tread took up longbow hunting and light tackle fishing. He did everything the hard way, what he called the Tread Barta way. And he holds many, many records in all kinds of fishing and anything he's ever tried. Basically, he's got a record in or a medal in, or he's been a competitor all the way from high school up to now. And being in a wheelchair hasn't stopped him. It's probably only made him more irascible and more determined. But other than that, it's the same old Tread. So that being said, Tread is with us today. And I always kid Lynn about her Southern gentleman, but the only gentleman in Lynn's life that mattered, besides me, that is, passed away. And we want to acknowledge that and thank Lynn for being here and tell her that our thoughts and prayers are with her and her family right now in this difficult time. And we'll be right back after this.
Hang tight. More of America's Outdoor Talk program, Outdoors This Week, after this.
Hi, folks. Ron Linder here for Linder's Angling Edge Television. I'm back in Minnesota. I left Florida here a little while ago, and I drove from real warm, and I drove across the St. Croix River at Hudson, Wisconsin, coming back to my home in Minnesota. And I drove smack dab into a snowstorm. Yep, smack dab into a storm in the 1st of May. Could not believe it. Right now, we are facing something in the upper north here that we haven't faced in many, many, many decades. And that's a ice-covered opening of fishing day. We have opening fishing days. We have opening fishing days in Wisconsin and in Minnesota. You have no opening or closing in the Dakotas. They're open all the time, or up in Michigan. But the UP is going to be the Upper Peninsula. This is all going to have frozen lakes May 1st, May 15th, all the way through. Our lakes, the lake I live on, is frozen solid. Most of the time, it's out in mid-April. And so we're at least 2 to 3 weeks later than usual. The whole northern section of Minnesota, which is a big deal in this state. A lot of these resort owners, it's the opening weekend, which is the weekend of the 11th, the Mother's Day weekend, is one of their biggest deals of the year. And if they miss this, they're probably going to miss 20% of their income from the whole year. It's a big deal, and it ain't happening. And we are, whatever happened to global warming, because it sure don't exist here. I woke up this morning and got out my car, and I just got from Florida because my blood is thin. And I got out there, and it was 31 degrees. I drove to work in a shirt. I wish I would have I put the heater on for a while. I couldn't believe that. As from air conditioning to constant air conditioning to heating. When I was in Florida, coincidentally, it was the warmest end of April when I left there beginning of May that I have ever experienced in the 25 years I spent the winter in Florida. So it's kind of weird. What we're doing here right now is facing something totally unprecedented. We were supposed to be shooting a Lund boat commercial, and we have no open, well, we got open water in rivers, but we have no open water in lakes. And generally they choose very pristine, clear water lakes so to get all the, all the highlights and the color and everything. And all we've got here is solid ice. It's still ice today. The lake I live on has got 3 foot of ice on it. And I was looking out there, and I saw, believe it or not, somebody actually ice fishing. And this is it's after the 1st of May. So anyway, that's my report from getting from Florida to Minnesota. And I know the Canadian lakes all up in the Ontario, they're what we call Northwest Ontario, the Sunset Country, which is it's our second home. Minnesota's my home. The Northwest Ontario is my second home because we spend so much time up there. And that's frozen solid as well. So the only constant there is change. Everything changes. This is on the heels of some of the most warmest winters we've ever had. This is when they were talking global warming. Last couple of winters is the coldest, the absolute coldest that we have experienced. Right now, this last winter, the winter we're in, is the coldest that has been recorded since 1950. With that, if you want to know more about us, you can go look up on our website, or look me up on Facebook, Ron Linder Facebook, or Angling Edge Facebook. You can hear more about it. See you later, folks.
Fly fishing for crappie coming up on Bass Pro Shops Outdoor World.
Would you like to spend less time on the couch and more time in the fresh air? Would you like your kids to stare at a bobber instead of the TV? Would you gladly trade in your microwave for a Dutch oven? Then you belong at Bass Pro Shops. Every week, we offer free skills workshops to help you get started. See the store or go to BassPro.com for more information. Bass Pro Shops. Your adventure starts here.
Springtime is the best time to fly fish for crappies. When water temperatures warm, crappies head for shallow water, and you'll have no problem reaching them with a floating fly line. Once you locate crappies, deliver the fly, let it sink a few feet, then begin retrieving. Experiment to discover their preference, but short strips generally work best. Watch the point where the fly line meets leader material. This is your strike indicator. Any change in behavior or a sudden twitch, set the hook. Also be on the lookout for bug hatches. Crappies will be a few feet below the surface, slurping up the emerging bugs. Wet flies imitate the emerging insects and are a sure ticket to connecting with the crappies. Throughout the rest of the year, try fly fishing for crappie around crappie habitat. Cast to the cover, let the line sink, then twitch it slightly. Fly fishing for crappies is fun and productive. I'm Larry Whiteley, and this is Bass Pro Shops Outdoor World.
Why, thank you, Larry Whiteley, and I'll be sure to remember all those bug twitches. You know those bugs. They just twitch along. But Trey Barta, who is my next guest, is a modern day Ernest Hemingway. He's an avid outdoor sportsman, a blue water fisherman, a rancher, a hunter. What is he not, I ask you? He holds multiple world records in both light tackle saltwater fishing and big game hunting. And he's believable, incredible. He says you can either hurry up living or hurry up dying. It's your choice. And I want to talk to Tread about something today that near and dear to my home here in Boston. And that's the Boston Marathon bombing. And the Boston Marathon started in the town of Hopkinton. That's where the runners leave. And that, incidentally, is also where I first invented the flying lure in a tournament many, many years ago. Our station, where we broadcast from, is in the Metro West area of Boston. It's a town called Framingham. It's technically the largest town in America.
It is. Yeah, it's the largest town.
It's a big town.
It's a big town.
This is literally the big town. It's like, I think it's like 70 or 80,000 people. The town government is a town government. The marathon goes from Hopkinton through Framingham all the way to Boston. I live in Boston, like just a couple of miles from where the bombs went off. When they went off, I was in Framingham, thankfully.
Thank God.
Tread, are you there?
What kind of radio interview is this when you're doing all the talking?
Well, I know you're used to doing all the talking, Tread, but today I thought I'd do some of the talking because I do have a personal connection to the bombing.
Yep.
I'll tell you something about myself that you probably didn't know, Tread. Before I ever spoke English, I spoke Russian and German. My family were immigrants from post-war Europe. I didn't speak English until I went in the first grade, and I had to learn English like in about 3 months. God bless the Sisters of St. Joseph.
Yeah.
And my own Russian-speaking people bombed the Boston Marathon. I'm used to being embarrassed by the Russians during communism, but this is unbelievable. Do you have any thoughts on the Boston Marathon bombing?
I do. I have a lot of thoughts, and obviously our prayers go out to everyone who was affected. These are, whether they be Russian. Look, my father's father was Yugoslavian. My mother was German. I come from basically a Slavic background. I have no. The greatest thing in my family was that my father's father's father was a coal miner in Pennsylvania, and the royalty stops there.
Right.
It makes no difference where these guys come from. They are religious zealots. They are enemies of the United States. I think we're making an absolute tragic left-wing liberal choice by not treating them as enemy combatants. In my opinion, I know everyone has their own. In my opinion, they should be tried in a military court, and the key should be thrown away. The evidence is there. They are not due a normal trial, and I'm very disappointed. This is going to affect more and more people in the United States. And as a result of that, I wonder to myself, the greatest tragedy in some respects is that I go down to my local store in Eagle, Colorado, called the Everything Store, and I have friends in Boston and all throughout the Northeast, and I'm asking them simply, can I get some .22 long rifle ammunition to go ahead and shoot gophers in my pasture? And you cannot find .22 ammunition. You can't find 223s, 243s, and what is happening, I think...
Why not, Fred? Why?
The problem is the government has bought a tremendous amount. The new gun legislation and liberal legislation all over the place has made the greatest shortage of ammo ever. By the way, everyone who's listening to me, go try to buy some .22 ammo, or any ammo for that matter. What does this have to do with Boston?
We got to take a break right now, but if you'll come back, I'm sure you'll have a lot more to say about Boston and everything else. So stay with us, folks. We'll be right back with the inimitable Tread Barta. Don't go away.
More of America's favorite outdoor talk program, Outdoors This Week, after these messages.
Since 1984. Tight Lines with Sammy Lee.
What's generally thought of as the most productive bass lure ever created? Well, I guess it would have to be the plastic worm. Hello, this is Sammy Lee. I'll be talking about when, where, and how to use this bait after this.
Your best tool for catching big fish isn't even in your tackle box. It's FishMate Pro, the app that loads your smartphone up with everything you need to catch the big ones. You get the best feeding times in the moon phase, plus all your current weather conditions, including barometric pressure and color weather radar. And when you catch a trophy, take a picture on the phone, and FishMate Pro interfaces with Facebook and Twitter. Plus, you get recipes, fishing news, and podcasts updated every weekday right in the palm of your hand. Bring more fun to your fishing with the FishMate Pro app. Find out all you need to know at fishmateapp.com.
Few lures in fishing history have ever made it to the top faster than the plastic worm. Statistics compiled in professional bass tournaments prove that the plastic worm is truly the all-time deadliest bass-catching lure. So for a lure to be this good, it must be simple to fish, right? Hardly. The key ingredients to you becoming a successful plastic worm fisherman are confidence, feel, endurance, and patience. Now to me, the first two, confidence and feel, are the most important. You must have confidence. A correct mental attitude plays a major role in catching or not catching bass. Now, to develop a feel for worm fishing plays a key part in building this confidence. You've got to feel that worm working down there among the bottom contours to the point where you can visualize its every move in your mind's eye. Now, there are other reasons why the plastic worm is so unique, and they include the plastic worm maintains a contour depth. By that, I mean it can be fished to follow the exact bottom terrain. Now, the plastic worm imitates natural food. A plastic worm crawling along the bottom to a bass looks like a hamburger steak to an all-night truck driver. Thirdly, the plastic worm is dispensable. In other words, most fishermen can afford to throw this lure where the fish are. Most folks won't hesitate to invest a 15-cent worm in tangled brush piles in hopes of catching a 5-pound bass. And that brings me to my last point. The plastic worm builds confidence. Now, this may sound like I'm repeating myself, but as I've often said, confidence is the best lure that you can have in your tackle box, even better than a plastic worm. Be sure to join me for my next program when I'll continue talking about plastic worms. I'm Sammy Lee, and until next time, tight lines.
Tight Lines, brought to you by FishMate,
The ultimate fishing app for your smartphone.
by UFP,
America's leading maker of brake systems for boat trailers.
and by SmartBaits.
Color changes everything.
You know, my wife calls me a twit, but now I'm tweeting at www.twitter.com/tightlinesradio. So join me daily for this update on fishing news and information.
Thanks, Sammy Lee. And we'll look you up at the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame. I know that's where you're the MC, and we need to set up a Hall of Fame for adventurers. And I think I'm going to nominate Tred Barta, who was my guest today. Tred is a modern-day Ernest Hemingway, and he holds umpteen number of records in everything. Everything he's ever tried, he's got medals in or some kind of a distinguished honor. We're just talking today about the Boston Marathon bombing. Tred said, go out and try to buy some bullets. Tred, the bullets are not out there to be bought?
I'm surprised you don't know this, Alex.
I don't know it because I'm not a hunter.
In the United States of America today, you can hardly buy ammo for your gun.
Really?
It is the most tragic, unbelievable thing. I hope your phones light up as people confirm what I'm saying. What does this have to do with Boston? Well, directly, not too much, but indirectly, I'm not trying to be insensitive about Boston whatsoever. Come on, everybody. I've got cancer and I'm in a wheelchair for the rest of my life, paralyzed from my chest down. It gives me liberty to speak my mind. Boston Marathon was two religious zealots, two kids, not men, cowards, who did a ridiculous attack on the United States of America in Boston. That is all it is. And it doesn't sound like I'm sympathetic to those who were hurt, but the net is this is the new life that we live in. And I don't know, unfortunately, whether it can be prevented. I do know this. I do know that if we were eating in a Boston fish house,
right,
and I had my carry permit, or my Glock 31 or 21, or my Ruger LCP 380.
Good luck getting one in the state of Massachusetts.
Well, there's another subject. Massachusetts, New York, Connecticut, extremely liberal and blue states. Very hard to get a carry permit. Very hard to own a pistol. By the way, I go to church with a Glock exposed and loaded on my wheelchair.
Wow.
And in Colorado, we can carry. But in Colorado, we have just endorsed marijuana, and we've endorsed gay marriage, and we have some of the worst gun laws, and the state is being boycotted.
I meant to ask you about the legalized pot. I mean,
I'm 100. Look, it is a fact that medical marijuana does help cancer patients.
Yep.
I've tried it a couple times recently for pain in my arm. I ripped my bicep off my arm, and all it did is put me to sleep in 5 minutes.
Right.
So it doesn't do anything for me.
But
to legalize marijuana, where people are driving cars and airplanes stoned, and they can smoke as much as they want, and smoke in public places, to me is an erosion of American values, and I am very much against it. I know that popular belief is against me, but I don't believe in it.
Tread, tell people your physical condition.
I had, very quickly, in the course of a week, my left foot went, my left leg went, my right leg went, and I found that I had a severe, very, very rare blood cancer called something. The name eludes me. Waldenstrom's. I had Waldenstrom's. And I ended up paralyzed from my chest down. And, I have a urine bag and a colostomy bag, and I can take care of myself, and it embarrasses me to say that. But you know what? Life is what it is. And by the way, life is not fair, everybody.
Right.
And this is why we need to get in the outdoors and enjoy every moment that we can. I don't know if all of you are aware, but Lynn, who I think I've spoken to for, my God, it seems like 20 years, came home to find her husband had passed away.
Right.
44 years old.
Right. Unbelievable.
And I give, last night, me and Daniel said a prayer for Lynn, and she's a wonderful woman. But God has a path for all of us.
That's true.
And no one. Life is so perishable, and when you think that you can take a bull elk with a wooden stick,
right,
or you could fall, or you could have a heart attack, or you could have cancer, and I know that many people listening have had similar things happen. I mean, I never expected to be I'm going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life.
Yep.
So, what is my point here? My point is that we need to preserve American values. We need to support those who need help in time of need. I would ask that all would pray for Lynn. We need to recognize that the great outdoors God has created for us.
Yep.
In Massachusetts and Boston and eastern Long Island and New Jersey, the bass, the fluke, the flounder are starting to come. To miss the opportunity to go out with your family on the borrowed time that we have is a crime.
You're right. I mean, we're all we're all obviously mortal, and if you're in good health, you don't think about it. Maybe ending up in a wheelchair has been a blessing for you.
It hasn't been a blessing for me, but I do believe that God has kept me alive. They said I would only. On 3 separate occasions, they said I would be dead in 3 weeks.
Right.
So I think that God has a plan for me to help and to inspire other people. I fish, I hunt, I scuba dive, I fly, I hunt, I fish, and it's hard.
Do you still have a pilot's license?
No, they took that away.
They did, huh?
But
we got to take our last break, and after that, we'll come back and we'll try to inspire people. Okay?
Let's inspire people and end up on a happy note.
Sounds good.
Hey, what do you think you're doing? Don't change that dial. Alex will be right back with more of Outdoors This Week after these messages.
In much of the country, April means top water time when fishing for bass. There's nothing much more exciting than be working a floating lure across the surface. Bam, there's an explosion. I guarantee that's when the adrenaline starts flowing. I'm Wade Bourne, and this is Wired to Fish Radio. Today, pro angler Shaw Grigsby shares a great tip for catching more fish when you're working a topwater boat.
Stay tuned for more Wired to Fish Radio.
For a day at the range, it's hard to beat an accurate pistol and lots of .22 long rifle ammunition. Folks at Smith & Wesson couldn't agree more. And the new M&P 22 pistol fits the bill perfectly. The M&P 22 combines the look, feel, and familiar operating features of the trusted M&P series of centerfire pistols. The M&P 22 is perfect for training or simple shooting enjoyment. To learn more about this new M&P rimfire pistol, visit www.smith-wesson.com. With the mission to promote, protect, and preserve hunting in the shooting sports, the National Shooting Sports Foundation wants to help you better enjoy your sports. Take a lesson from champion pistol shooter Doug Koenig. Fine-tune your shotgun skills with top instructor Gil Ash, or learn how to sight in your rifle in just 2 shots. You'll find all the information you need to shoot better at nssf.org/videos. Watch and learn with NSSF at nssf.org/videos.
This is Wired to Fish Radio.
Pro angler and TV host Shaw Grigsby loves to fish a topwater lure for bass. He says topwaters are fun to fish, and they're really productive when there's an active bite going on. Recently, I asked Shaw what tip he'd pass on to listeners to help them catch more fish on topwaters.
The best tip I can give anybody to be more effective with a topwater bait is to not set the hook on the strike. We tend to do that. You know, we see the explosion and we want to jerk right then. And what you're really seeing is the water exploding, and a lot of times our reaction is quicker than the bass, and so you end up pulling it away from him or just barely hooking him and it ripping out as he fights. So the best tip I can give you is, and you'll hear this from a lot of the old-time fishermen, they say, wait till you feel them. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, do not wait till you feel them, okay? Because what happens, a lot of times they're swimming towards you, and you won't feel them, and he'll blow the bait out or shake it loose, and you'll never set a hook on him. So the best thing you can do is when you see that explosion, boom, just kind of take a half a turn on your rod and set the hook fairly quickly. So it's about a less than a 1 second delay, but if you give it about that, 1,000 and you setting the hook, you've probably got him hooked up really, really well.
That's pro angler Shaw Grigsby, and tomorrow Shaw returns with more good advice about using topwater lures to catch big bass. And that's also today's Wired to Fish Radio. Wade Bourne saying, thanks for listening, and get outside.
Thanks a lot, Wade. No, you get outside. Don't tell me to get outside. I'll get it when I'm good and ready. We have with us today a modern Ernest Hemingway, who is in a wheelchair. He's got a rare blood cancer, but we're going to get inspired today. The season is spring. Everything is new again. I just drove my boat yesterday to get it serviced for the spring, and we're going to talk to Tread Barta. He had a show for many years called The Best and the Worst of Tread Barta. He took up longbow hunting and light fishing tackle, and he quickly became an expert in both. And Tread is with us today. He's going to give us a positive outlook on everything.
We started this segment talking about bugs.
Yes.
And twitching.
Yes.
So my question, Alex, to you as an outdoor professional,
yes,
is what do you call a rabbit with severe lice?
I don't know.
Bugs Bunny. We're having a pause. We're talking about Boston, and we're talking about life, and talking about liberty.
Yeah.
We're talking about the spring and turkey hunting and all of the fish coming up in their the crush of life and the migration.
Right.
The tuna offshore in Gloucester and all through Massachusetts, and the Cape Cod and Maine.
Have you seen Wicked Tuna, by the way?
I have watched it, and I don't really like what the show stands for.
Right.
Personally, I don't like the language. I don't like the disrespect that they have for recreational fishermen, and I don't like the basis of the show.
Right.
However, it is entertaining, and obviously it's on TV. I was on NBC Sports for 9 years, and I guess it's their turn. But when you're cussing and yelling at an individual who works all week, owns a boat, and comes into the area that you think that you own in the ocean,
right,
and you're talking bad stuff behind everybody's back and we got fist fights at the dock, that to me is not an inspirational show.
It's Boston, though. It's pure Boston.
It is New England and it's Boston. But the way they fight the fish on heavy line in the rod holder, harpooning, it is true commercial fishing. I don't like the premise of the show. Saying to another that they wish you bad luck, I don't buy it.
How would you fish for these tuna? On light tackle?
I would fish for these tuna on 50 and 80-pound test.
Okay.
I would troll them on spreader bars and single ballyhoo. I would try to give this magnificent fish every chance he has in the world to get away. And if I would not harpoon a fish, I would gaff it, and I would bring it home and I would eat it.
Right.
But it is commercial fishing, and that's how they commercial fish. Right. I have no problem with the commercial fishing.
Well,
you have a problem with the attitude of which they treat each other and other people, and I think it's wrong.
Let's talk about recreational fishing in the time we have left. We have like 3 minutes left, Tread. Give me your best shot on spring fishing.
Everybody, it's the greatest time in the entire year. I just talked to somebody in the Chesapeake who is starting to catch striped bass. The bass are moving in, the fluke, the flounder, the rockfish, the tautog, the blackfish, all are good eating, all are good table fare. In the offshore canyons, we have water, warm core eddies coming off the Gulf Stream, circulating counterclockwise, moving down the 100-fathom line. We have the greatest migration of rebirth and life in bluefin tuna. They're coming way offshore, and they show up. All of a sudden, they show up in Maine and Gloucester, Massachusetts, eastern Long Island, and New Jersey. And it is the greatest opportunity for families and people to come together to enjoy God's bounty.
You're in Colorado. You miss the ocean?
I miss the ocean, but I get to go to the Northeast and fish the canyons quite often. I am buying a place in Islamorada, Florida, where Andros Boats is making me a boat that a paraplegic can run all by itself, and I'm going to have a good, 3 months on the ocean and between Venezuela and Guatemala and all the different places. Let me just say one thing. You don't have to be an expert to catch a striped bass. You don't have to have fancy equipment. You don't have to have boats. If you do have a boat, much of fishing is not very complicated, and you bring it home and you eat it. What can be better than that? And what I would like to say is nobody ever miss the opportunity to help somebody who needs help in fishing. I mean, to be a snob and to act like they do on Wicked Tuna.
Tread, running out of time. I want to invite you to visit me in the Keys when I'm down there. We've had a home down there for many, many years.
Oh, cool.
And it's not too far from Islamorada. So come on down.
In ending, I would like to say a short prayer for Sam, Lynn's husband, who passed away, and it's simply this. Dear Lord, for what we're about to receive, may the Lord make us truly thankful. Please give Lynn the confidence and the strength that she needs, and let Sam enter heaven and always be there as a shining resource for Lynn.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right, Tread, thanks for being with us, folks, and thanks. We'll be back next week with another Outdoor This Week. And Lynn, thanks for being here.
Alex Langer, Outdoors This Week.